I'm Felicia Cooper. I am a story coordinator at Rolling Pepperoni, but right now I'm talking to you from Connecticut, Stafford Springs, Connecticut specifically, which you might know if you're into monster trucks, because as I fall asleep at night, I can hear the Stafford motorway outside my window, and Gravediggers was supposed to come this summer, so we'll see. Nellie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi. First of all, I want to thank you so much, Felicia, for being a great story coordinator for Rolling Pepperoni. And I want to thank my friend, one of my best friends, Kat, who is the owner of Rolling Pepperoni. I've watched her build this business for years, and it's just incredible to see what it's blossomed into. I'm so proud of her, and I feel very honored to be a part of this. So thank you.
Yeah. It's exciting to be here today and to just talk and compare experiences and lives from all of our different, corners of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel comforted to see your face, Kat. It's so yeah, thanks.
Yeah, you too.
That's awesome. So Nellie, where are you from?
Oh right, I didn't introduce myself. I'm sorry, y'all. So my name is Nellie Rose, and I am from Elkins, West Virginia, where I wasn't born there, but moved there when I was 1, and Kat and I grew up together there. Yeah, so that's where I'm from.
Did you stay there?
I did not stay there. Currently, I live in Thomas, West Virginia, which is just up the mountain from Elkins. It's about an hour drive through the wonderful country roads, but just about 36 miles away. But I left for college. I went to school up in Western Massachusetts at Mount Holyoke College, and then after that I lived in Japan and Stanton, Virginia, before moving back to Elkins and then Thomas about 6 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So what brought you to Thomas?
So for those of you who don't know, who haven't heard of Thomas or visited before, it is a incredible community that supports the arts in a very robust way. And so I've been coming to Thomas since I was 10 years old. And when my mom was a artist in residence at there was a place called Mountain Maid, and she fixed up this, it was this really really awful storefront. It was so it was almost boarded up, but she fixed it up and put her looms in there, and we would live in the back of that space. And that was kind of my first introduction to Thomas, was when I was 10. And then I would come up to Thomas throughout my adolescence, because there's a music venue here called the Purple Fiddle. And it is such a treasure. It's such a treasure. You get to hear incredible live music from all over, and you get to dance a lot, and it's just such a beautiful environment. And so how I got here was I had moved back to Elkins for a love, and that didn't work out, but it did bring me back. So I'm really, really grateful for that. And so I lived in Elkins for about 2 years, and Thomas was like a nurturing, creative home for me. So eventually I moved up. Yeah.
It sounds like
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So it's just because of the community, I have to say. Long story short.
So how are the people of this town that you love doing?
Um, whew, wow, this is just such a weird time for everybody. So Thomas it's a really small population, about 600 people. And I would say that we have one street that's kind of our downtown, and it's it's packed full of interesting shops, very like art centric shops. I think there are like 6 galleries on the street.
Wow.
And so I would say that the spirit of Thomas is very entrepreneurial. I can't say that word. Entrepreneurial? Someone help me out. You know what I mean. And so when a couple of weeks ago, when word of COVID-19 kind of started, affecting how we run business, we were about to have an art walk, and we had to, as business owners, get together and discuss what we were going to do. And so we all decided to close our shops and not have art walk. And I think then we actually closed our shops like a couple days after that weekend. And so it's really changed. I actually don't know how everyone in town is doing because I don't see them. I only see a handful of people, and it's all from a distance, and town isn't bustling like it was, of course. It's like a ghost town. And so I don't know how people are, but I'm glad that people are taking it seriously. At least right here they are. You still go to the grocery store and see people sneeze into their hand and touch a grocery cart, but which is really disturbing. But I think for the most part, at least in town, people are being really conscientious. So, and I think elsewhere too. You go into the post office, everyone's really kind and concerned and sweet. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I'm really glad to hear that your community is able to support and be there for each other in a unique way at a unique time. How are you?
All in all, I'm really well.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah. If I had to add up all of the things, I am definitely doing well. But on a moment-to-moment basis, it is such a roller coaster. And I think that's how everyone is feeling. We are all processing so much every single day. And I hope that we are all able to kind of give ourselves time for those emotions to sit and to actually cry a lot and feel depressed and all of those things. And hopefully we can just work through it and grow. And that's how I feel like I am. I feel like this is a very, very strange time. And I am full of anxiety, but I'm also brimming with hope.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are feeling hope in totally new ways. And I think one of the ways and the reasons that people are feeling such hope is this incredibly immediate response that's happening. And that includes what I'd like to talk to you about is Nellie Rose Textiles and what you're doing with mask making.
Yeah.
Can you start by talking about Nellie Rose Textiles in general?
Sure. So I am a textile artist and clothing maker, and that's sweet. So I focus on, Nellie Rose Textiles, my, my business, but also me, is what I do is I hand paint on yardage of fabric, typically raw silk, but also linen and organic cotton. And I will make hand-dyed, hand-painted yardage that then I will cut up and I will make into garments, such as tops and dresses and jumpers and pants and such. And typically, I mean, I like to think that it's all really fun and playful, and that's the kind of, clothing that I like to make. It's also, a lot of it is, a lot of what I do is custom. So I will, all of my pieces are one of a kind, but some people will come into my shop. Well, not now, no one will come into my shop now, but in pre-COVID days, people would come into my shop, and if they didn't find exactly what they wanted, or maybe I didn't have the right size or fit for them, I just love making clothing that will fit people well, and so I will do a lot of custom work for people with my designs.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I guess there's two questions here, right? How did you start as a fiber artist, and how did you start your business and your company? Can we start with how did you start as a fiber artist and how that led you?
Yeah. So wait, the first one, what was the follow-up question?
Sure. Well, I was just wondering, you can take it however you like, right? But I'm wondering how you started as a fiber and textile artist, and how that grew into this business and your practice that you have now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I owe a lot of it to the fact that both of my parents are textile artists.
Oh, you're good.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. So, what's that?
Oh, thanks everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, I have a lot of that. I owe a lot of that to my parents, who are textile artists. So I grew up around really beautiful hand-dyed silks and handmade garments. And so it was kind of just the easiest way for me to play, was to just get my hands in a lot of silk and wrap myself up in it. And so I started sewing when I was 7 years old on a treadle sewing machine, one of the ones that aren't electric, they're powered by your feet. Wow. And I had a little pot holder business, like a trivet, like pot holder business, and I would rope Kat into sewing with me. And we made these like log cabin pot holders out of old secondhand boiled wool, like wool blankets and such that would have like moth holes or something. So we would cut them up and we would make these pot holders. I actually have some over there. And then it just it was so natural for me to want to make things. And that was kind of like, I wasn't necessarily an artsy kid. I didn't draw a lot or really think that I had any talent when it came to painting or drawing or anything like that. And so, but I was always making things with fabric. So starting with the pot holders, and then I think in high school, I would make all of my friends for their birthdays bags. That definitely has one of these like triangular bags that I would make for my extensive pattern fabric collection. And then I would make most of my dresses for like dances and such. And or at least I would make them sometimes from scratch, and I would also modify vintage ones. And so it just kind of like has been in my life since I was a kid. And when I went to college, I totally left it behind. I never opened my sewing machine. Like I even brought my sewing machine to college, but like never opened it, didn't do that at all. And I realized that there is a great sense of sadness or a void that was in my life. And I really tied that to the absence of making things. And so my senior year of college, I applied for a Fulbright fellowship to study textiles in Japan. And I was so incredibly lucky and fortunate to be awarded one of those fellowships. And so I got to study at Osaka University of the Arts for a year, and I was in their textile department. And it really turned into, rather than like your straight like research Fulbright, it really turned into, oh, sorry, there was someone at my door. Okay. It really turned into me going to art school.
Wow.
Just wild. And so I learned so much there. I mean, I basically learned how to use lots and lots of different techniques to pattern fabric, from hand painting to batik to katazome, which is stencil resist, and so really traditional techniques all the way to like, I mean, I took a computer-aided design class, but I don't do that at all anymore. But you know, I just got to try it all out. And through that time, I reached out to a woman. Her name is Hiroko, and she is one of my favorite indigo and shibori artists.
Wow.
And we got to know each other during that time. And then by the end of my Fulbright, she asked me to apprentice with her. So I went back to Japan after my Fulbright to apprentice with her and lived in her studio. And that's probably where I learned my discipline, I would say. She's such a hard ass.
May we all have hard-ass apprentices in our life.
Agreed. She's, one of, like, along with my parents, she's been one of my most influential mentors. And it just, for the longest time, even through my Fulbright, I was like, I'm not going to be an artist. I don't know how to be an artist. I don't think that I can do this. And then when I was spending those months with her, with Hiroko, I realized that I am too, that all of my experiences leading up to this moment, there's just too many that are forming this opportunity for me. To not pursue it would be like it would just be shitting on all of them. Like, that's kind of how I felt about it. I was like, that's so unfair. Like, everyone's giving me so many opportunities, and to not try would be so sad. So, yeah.
I think sometimes life, certain things pull you towards what you're meant to become.
Yeah.
So how did you pull yourself into making this a business?
Yeah. So I decided, for one, I was really lucky because I grew up without much money. So when I had the Fulbright, I squirreled away like a lot of money. So when I came home from that, I had a little nest egg. I had that I felt like I could give myself a year to try to pursue making scarves. I started with scarves out of my mom's studio. And she gave me material, and then I would sell my work through her shop and pay her back for material as I sold things. And I guess it was just, I started to learn that I could actually support myself doing that. And I think that like little squirreling of that Fulbright money allowed me to do that, and not have so much pressure to go get a job at a bank, or I'm not sure where I would have gone, but it allowed me to take a more non-traditional route. And then what was it? I forget what conference it was. It was like something about West Virginia, but well, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting exactly that time, but someone invited me to a conference and they said that I needed to be a registered business. So that was back in 2014. And so I registered Nellie Rose Textiles, and then the Tamarack Foundation found me, which is a arts organization in Charleston, West Virginia. And it's separate from Tamarack, the retail space. It's the foundation. They found my work and said, this really needs to be in urban areas. And so they had a program for me, and it was called Rural to Urban Markets. And yeah, and I had to live in West Virginia. And at the time I was in Virginia. So it was a really nice reason to move back, other than a boy. But they got me started, really. I was able to live rurally, which I love. And I was able to sell my work via buyer markets, like wholesale markets. So I would go to Philadelphia, Baltimore, DC to do big buyer markets. And I would collect orders for an entire year and then fulfill them from my little tiny studio in West Virginia. So that's how I started. Yeah, that's how it like became a business.
Wow. That's an incredible journey. And like I said, things pull you towards what you're meant to become. I think that's my belief. But how did you come to realize in this time that your skill set would be so important to what we're experiencing now?
Really just very simply. I mean, it was thanks to Kat. Once again, she tagged me in a Facebook post about folks needing masks. And I just followed up on it. I was like, what's this? Because I didn't, I'm not watching. I mean, I don't have TV. And so I'm just getting my news from like the Daily and other things. But really, I'm trying to be a little bit removed for my sanity. And so that's really how I learned about it. And then I was quickly like, okay, what do I do? Like it was pretty simple. Yeah.
So what did you do once you said, what do I do?
Yeah. So the first thing that I did was, okay, I'm concerned about my ability to create a thing that needs to be used in hospitals. That was my big concern. And okay, there we go. And so I made a call out on Instagram, just being like, hey, how can a seamstress like me get their hands on medical grade material to make masks that would be effective in a situation where healthcare workers need to use them? I quickly I went down that rabbit hole, didn't really didn't really figure that out, and kind of had to accept the reality of the situation, which was that I don't have the capacity to make medical grade masks. That's not within my capacity. So that was really hard. I cried a lot trying to figure it out. It was very, very frustrating. Mostly it was super frustrating because people were sending me studies, all this research and studies of materials, and I'm like, I am a seamstress. Why am I asked to discern what type of material should be used? So it was really kind of scary and frightening at first, and frustrating. I mean, people were just trying to help me. Thank you. I love you all. But it was just kind of horrifying situation where I just had to accept a reality where I had to be like, okay, well, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I can make 100% cotton reusable cloth masks that have a filter pocket. So when people do get their hands on that right material to put in that filter pocket, they can. They have a vehicle of how to wear it. And I mean, right now we are in such a horrifying situation when it comes to personal protective equipment in healthcare facilities for
Absolutely.
healthcare providers. It's so sad that that is the reality, is that they are asking people from their home to create masks for them to wear.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the reality. So studies show that cotton, it doesn't, 100% cotton masks will filter 50%. Whereas like a N95 mask will filter 95% if worn properly. So I'm gonna help provide 50%.
Yeah, that's an amazing contribution. And everybody's giving you thumbs up. I don't know if you have fun. And if anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will address them. But yeah, and I think speaking to like this very, very pertinent feeling of like, this is very sad. I don't know what to do to help. How do I move forward from that feeling? So what have you learned as you've moved forward from this frustrated, very honest, very, I think, universal feeling?
Yeah, how I moved forward was all through collaboration.
Oh, wow.
So that was, I realized, okay, you feel so alone. You feel like you're like carrying like this crazy weight. Like my eyes were burning from how much I was looking at my phone and my like trying to do research and such. Like I was in such like physically rough state. And so I luckily have incredible friends, and this really makes me want to cry, but my friend Brittany Hicks and Grace Lawson were like, they stepped up. They're my fucking angels. So here I was trying to create a network. I guess I didn't bring that up. But after trying to figure out the medical grade fabric, I was like, okay, we need to create some sort of network so we can get this done and share resources. And if someone does find medical grade fabric, then we can share it, and that sort of thing. So that set me on this path of like creating a network, a regional based network. And it's also, I've been way out of my depth this entire time. So when I received an email from Brittany Hicks, who is a friend who lives in Elkins, West Virginia, she was like, hey, I was thinking about this too, but didn't want to take it all on by myself. Like, do you need some help with it? I'm a really good organizer. And I was like, yes, absolutely, please. And then I ran into Grace that day, and I was in some sort of state of mind. And she was donating fabric, sweetheart. And she was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, I have such a bad headache. Like, I'm just like, I have this meeting later and I don't even know how to like start this thing. And I don't even know how she's going to help me. I know that she will, but I just don't even know how. And she's like, hey, those are my skills too. Like, I can help organize. And do you want me to pop on that call? And I was like, yes, please. Yes, please. So they both hopped on a Google Hangouts chat, which was like my first time doing that. And they like listened to me and what all of my kind of big ideas were and all my thoughts. And then they synthesized that down to actionable actions. And so to create Holler Mask Force. And so is really collaboration is what just like one thing that has been so fun about this, it's been so cool to work with a team. I've never worked with a team before. I've always been so just isolated in my own studio. And so and they made shit happen. Like they really made it happen. And so suddenly we have another collaborator that was absolutely essential in building infrastructure for this network was my friend John Ryan Brubaker, who is a graphic designer and web designer. And I came to him with the name Holler Mask Force, and we designed the logo together. He really did, but we did it kind of together. He made me feel like I was part of it.
Collaboration, right?
Yeah, collaboration. And came up with a really great logo, and then we built that site that night. I mean, it was like one thing after another. And so then we got that up and have been collecting, three really great things come from the website, which are people can join the force. So they can just sign up and say like what their skill is, what they can add to the force. And so we can collect those, and Grace has been a really good communicator with all of that, with all the people that join. And then we have an in need form, which collects mask requests. And that has a really, really important comment section in it so that we understand where they are going and what they're being used for and all that stuff. And because all of our masks are donated, we're not taking any money for them. I understand that there are people selling masks out there, and that's great, especially to the general public. But I right now believe very, very strongly that everyone is strapped for money right now, and absolutely no money should come out of your pocket for protection if you don't have that money. So all of them are donated no matter what, and that is able to happen because for the most part, all of our materials are donated. And then we're collecting donations, and so many people have been incredibly generous to this cause. So it's so cool. It's so cool. And I feel really lucky to be so supported. And so everything's going to be, covered. If we have to buy elastic, it's covered. If someone is shipping their masks out somewhere, it's covered, so that feels
that's remarkable.
Yeah, it feels sustainable in that way. Like people ask, can I buy them? And I say, no, you cannot buy them, meaning you can't really jump that line. Mm-hmm. But you can get on the list and you can donate, but it allows us to, instead of taking orders by by someone paying us so we feel indebted, it's not really like that. We get to look at our orders and we get to prioritize, where should these go,
right?
And some of that, and that's a lot, that's a very tedious balancing act of that. It's a little bit with first come first serve, but it's also urgent need. So and I think that so that feels good that we can prioritize urgent need.
I'm really glad to hear you say that. So I want to start to open up the conversation to all the people who have gathered here today, but I want to be very clear in asking, like, when we want to donate to what you're doing or help support what you're doing, where should we go?
You should go to hollermaskforce.org.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And I think, oh yeah, Kat has already posted the link. Amazing.
Thank you.
I think like right now we are witnessing a structural failure, right? Mm-hmm. And that's because of so many systems that have been built up on the acclamation of wealth. And now that we need desperately to prioritize something outside of the acclamation of wealth, it's vital that we are able to rely on and help each other. And I am so, so happy and inspired to hear that you're able to do that as well, that you're able to lead a force in doing so.
Oh, thank you. I believe that too. Oh,
Fantastic.
yeah.
All right, who's got questions? Let me open the chat. Sorry for my big pointer finger. All right. Hey, chatters. Kat says, where are most of the masks requests coming from? Any particular area of the healthcare sector that is coming up the most high priority?
That's a really good question. So where most of the masks are coming from well, there's a variety. I don't know if it's like the most or anything, but our biggest orders are coming from hospitals and a nursing home. I think the nursing home is one of the largest orders, and that's Nellie's nursing home in Elkins. And so that, I mean, as we know with COVID, it is, it really is very hard on the elderly population. And so we really want to prioritize a nursing home for sure. And, and then other ones that we were really prioritizing too, well, are parts of the healthcare sector that aren't on the front line necessarily. So people who actually aren't given, like they aren't given masks at all, but they also exist and use the same facilities as people who are possibly dealing with COVID. So, so a rural behavioral center, we're sending like over 30 there. And so that is, I felt like that was really important. And then also to birthing centers. And then also I really, really wanted to prioritize immune compromised individuals. There are people who are immune compromised dealing with certain illnesses that don't allow them to not go to the hospital. So during this time, it's a really scary time to go to the hospital to get like some sort of infusion that you need. So I really put them high on, those individuals high on the list as well. And their caregivers. And also we got a lot of requests individually from nurses.
Wow.
Yeah, just they're getting some for themselves and maybe their friends. So yeah, it was honestly the hardest thing to create a prioritization system. Like it was a lot went into it, of figuring that out. And so it's not like anyone like got deprioritized. I don't want to say that at all. Oh my goodness. That's not the case. It's like everyone's a high priority, but we just kind of had to figure out, it was also matching like what masks were made. What's the quantity of medium-sized masks that we made, or large-size masks, or child-size masks? So a lot of it had to be factored in at the same time. Yeah.
Sure. Kat asks, how did you decide? Oh, well, let me go back. Alice says, hi. Oh, Alice, you can turn on your microphone and say this. Or do I have to turn on
sure. No, I can do it.
Oh,
hi. So I bought Kat's pepperoni rolls like 3 days ago, so that's why I'm in this.
Oh, that's awesome.
But otherwise, I'm a medical student in New York City. They actually let us go from the medical school about 3 weeks ago because they didn't want us working in the hospitals at this time. And expose students to whatever's going on. But I just wanted to say thank you for putting this initiative together, because a lot of my mentors and friends and my friends' parents, they work in the hospitals right now. And it's just so important that there's this kind of community initiative to help keep them safe, and help keep others safe in the community as well, especially like the immunocompromised, as you said. That's really important because I know some people can't avoid not going to the doctor's office or the hospital. So I just wanted to say thank you. I didn't have a question, but.
Oh, Alice, thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. That means a lot. I'm comforted by your words, really. Thanks.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you, Alice. It's really good to hear your perspective as a medical student too.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. Kat, do you want to ask this one?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I was going to ask, how did you decide on the design? Because there are lots of different mask designs out there, and there are some that seem, easier to use or maybe more effective than others.
Yeah. So that was kind of it was kind of difficult to figure it out because there are so many. I mean, you go on YouTube or Facebook and so many different designs, patterns, tutorials are shared with you about masks. And we're rushed in this situation. We don't have a lot of time to figure that out. So I went with the design that I am using is from State the Label. They put a printable, like an open source printable design on their website, and they are a company that I admire, and so I really trusted their design. And they consulted with ER nurses about the design for the purpose of wearing over masks, because a lot of healthcare providers are now they are given masks that are rationed. So some people only get one per shift, but other people are using the same N95 5 days in a row. And so maybe these masks can, if they have to be used on the front line or even in hospitals, if we are in that dire of a situation, then maybe they can extend the life of masks, and maybe not of medical grade masks, and maybe allow them to not get as soiled as quickly. So that is why I decided to use that pattern. But then you come to this is a decentralized operation. I have no control or oversight over the other people who are in this network who have joined Holler Mask Force. So we have 71 people.
Wow.
Yeah. Not everyone is active right now because not everyone has the proper materials that they need, but we're working on crowdsourcing that. And but everyone is a different level of sewer. So I presented a few. I really wanted to boil down the patterns that I presented to the network, so that people didn't have to muddle through so much. And so the State the Label pattern is it's adapted from the craft passion pattern as well. So everyone's kind of building up on each other, which is pretty cool. And that one has a curved, it's it's 4 pieces of material, but 2 coming together and curved from the nose down to the chin. And so that, I guess that's for a novice stitcher, it's that could be difficult, I guess. So I also wanted to present a square, like a rectangular pleated pattern that might be more simple for people. And honestly, we just want to make sure that the pattern has a filter pocket in it. That's like our basic criteria of the masks that are being sent out through Holler Mask Force. And so we're open for improvement. This is like we're all like flying by the seat of our pants right now. So we chose some patterns and a pattern that has 3 different sizes, L, M, and S, so that people could choose the ones that they felt were appropriate for their circumstance.
Yeah,
That answer
that's
that.
great.
Yeah.
And it seems like the project is consistently adapting to new needs.
And it has to. That's just like, this is one of the most difficult things about this is that my perfectionism isn't working well here. Like you really can't allow the perfects to be the enemy of the good. So you have to do something to your best ability, but sometimes you're just out of your depth and you just have to be like, okay, room for improvement. We can, now we're going to start adding nose bridges, nasal bridges. So we had to go back and we added nasal bridge pockets for wire to go in. And now we're making all of our masks with wire that you can take out if you want to, but it has the ability to have wire in there the ability to form it to your face. So yeah, so we're just continually trying to improve, but also accepting the reality that nothing's going to be perfect. I have a great fear that the elastic is cut too short, and because we are rationing elastic basically, and I'll have panic attacks like yesterday of like, oh my God, did we cut all of that to the wrong size? But I have to have trust in the people who receive these, that if it's too short, they're smart, they're scrappy, they can figure it out.
Right.
They'll take their shoelaces and put them through there. So, or like, oh, that wire is like going to poke through, so they have to take it out and put a pipe cleaner in. I don't know. Like, I feel like I just need to start trusting the people who are receiving these to modify them to fit themselves. So,
all right.
Yeah.
We just I'm going to go to the chat.
Yeah.
Just to go through. So to address right away, Grace says that she tried hers on and that it kept the mask snug and it was great. So some reassurance from Grace. The virtual high fives. And then Chad, do you want to hop on the microphone and say this?
Sure. I have to jump
Chad
off.
and I go way back from Maker Spaces, by the way.
What's that?
Thank you for
Chad and I
the,
go way back from Maker Spaces.
Oh, awesome. Hi, Chad. I love your hat. That is so beautiful. I feel like I should have it on too.
thank you for everything you're doing.
Thanks, Chad.
It's makers like you that are making a huge difference nationally. I see a lot of makers picking up the slack and getting medical professionals the PPE they need. And what we're doing is we basically have a stopgap right now until large-scale manufacturers can retool and get the stuff that needs to happen. And that's saving lives. So thank you.
Oh gosh.
If there's anything, I'm located in Pittsburgh, but if there's anything I can do, and I would be happy to connect you with resources, with other people in other locations have the same, or that are having the same efforts that you are, or doing the same efforts. Please let me know. I put my email in the list or in the chat.
Wonderful. Thank you.
There's a few sites as well. GetUsPPE.org is a national thing, and they're accepting PPE and distributing it nationwide, backed by doctors and everything, as well as the NIH government organization. They have different designs and stuff that have been vetted.
Oh, that is so cool.
So shoot me an email. I have to jump off, but shoot me an email. Thank you for having this call, and Zaheen, thank you for inviting me. It's awesome to hear what you're doing, and I'm so happy that so many people are jumping on board, and the smallest things make huge ripples. So thank you, every one of you on here on the call, for doing what you're doing. But I have to go, but it was wonderful hearing what you're doing, Nellie, and I'd love to chat again soon. So,
thank you so much, Chad. I'm gonna follow up with you.
Cool. I'll talk to you later.
See you. Thanks.
Bye, Chad. My goodness, it's like rural and urban communities are just, I love it. We love to see it.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's a big deal.
And Chad's a great guy, definitely.
Awesome.
A mover and a maker of things happening.
Wonderful.
Let me see. Do we have any other questions that we should address? Kat had a question. What about gowns? Gowns? Oh, like gowns. Okay.
Medical gowns. So that is definitely a need. Absolutely. I think I wanted to focus. I felt like my efforts were best. Well, one, I focused kind of on a region, like, not that our masks won't go anywhere and everywhere, but I really wanted to prioritize a locality, a region. And that's kind of spanning from New York down to North Carolina. That was where my mask got sent out today. We're spanning all of those states. And so I haven't taken on gowns just because I think that sometimes when we try to do things, spreading ourselves too thin can be a detriment to the whole. So I'm just like, this is our thing. We're focusing on it. And if at some point we're able to expand to include gowns and such, then we will. Like we've already expanded a little bit outside of masks because we got a request from someone who said that the elastic was hurting nurses' ears because a lot of masks that people are sending are going around the ears. And so after hours of wearing it, it really is difficult. So nurses have been really ingenious and have created headbands that have buttons on them for the elastic.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we got requests from that, and that's something like I don't want to make that, but maybe someone in our network does. So that's where like having the organization and the network and someone like Grace, who is a communication expert and will she found a few people on our network to work out a pattern and figure that out. So hopefully we'll be able to supply some of that to places, to healthcare facilities that are asking for it. I have a tickle in my throat. Okay.
It's fantastic.
So maybe it could be as easy as that with gowns, but I'm not sure. I don't think I have the capacity right now to figure out the patterns and all that yet. But thank you.
It's a great idea. And I think, with so much of what's going on right now, it's one step, one day, one moment at a time as to how and when we can help. So I think that's great. So let me see if there's any more questions. It seems like this might be, does anyone else have any comments or if anyone has anything they'd like to make public, you can, oh, hi. You can turn on your microphone and just go ahead and hop in. But it might lead us to what is traditionally at Rolling Pepperoni, our very last question, and one we are asking ourselves and each other all the time, which is, what is Appalachia? I know, it's a tough
really good question to end the interview on. Excuse me. What is Appalachia to me? Well, I feel like Appalachia is a symbol of resiliency and of interdependentness, interdependence. Where like I feel like a lot of folks are very self-reliant, but I do think that there is a beautiful culture of sharing, and I feel like that's what creates like an emotional interdependence. And wow, so Appalachia is warmth. It is intimate people mountains. It is a beautiful star-filled sky. It is people gathering on their porch until the wee hours of the morning, playing music and sharing songs. Yeah.
It's all those things.
It's all those things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to just, before we go, I want to return to something that you said earlier, which is that you said early on in the conversation, you said, I'm full of anxiety, but brimming with hope. And I think something that these conversations are have shown us in the past with our interviews, and something that we continue to discover, is that like those feelings can exist simultaneously, right? We can feel scared and we can feel anxious, but we can still reach out for help, and we can still use our hope to connect. And I really want to thank you for being here today and for being an example of that hope.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much for finding these stories that highlight such an incredible human paradox. That's so human and beautiful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks everybody for being
My
here.
pleasure. Thank you all for being a part of this and taking the time out of your shelter in place lives.
And we'll be here every Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to just kind of chat on the porch and talk about things that are hopeful.
Awesome.
I think next week we have a lot of exciting things for next week, so I don't want to drop the ball too soon. But yeah, hope to see you all here again.
Oh, absolutely. Awesome.
Thank you everyone for coming, and there in the chat there is a link to Nellie's website as well as Holler Mask Course.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Nellie, did you have a song? Was there a song that I missed? I know we can't leave without a song.
Is everyone into that?
Do it! Yes!
Do it. Yeah.
I love singing and hear people. Please.
Oh, okay. Let's see. So music definitely has been like a huge cathartic experience for me during this time, as it is during like any difficult time. And so one thing I'd like to point out about music is that like the touring musicians are going through so much right now. They are having such a hard time making a living because all of their gigs are canceled. And so I guess before I play any music, that's what I want to say is like, if you have the resources available to you, please support your singer-songwriters. So what should I play? I could play, we'll see. Okay.
Now let's see what song's in your heart.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
This is so funny, guys. I'm not a musician, just so everyone knows. But we are on our front porch, sharing. And one of my favorite things is to share songs with people. And but normally it's not just me; it's hearing other people play too. I'm gonna play a song by one of my favorite singer-songwriters. Her name is Adrienne Lenker. Her band is Big Thief. And she's just such an amazing songwriter. And I would like to play a song of hers. It's called Indiana. I love that it's called Indiana because Kat's from Indiana and spent a lot of time there. And I've never been there. But every time I play it, I think of her. And it's the first, and this is a great, such a great project, Porch Talks. I love the familialness of it. It's so fantastic and so necessary for, it's like a balm for our souls right now. So thanks for making that happen.
Yeah, thank you for being here and
Absolutely.
for helping us start it off. We'll be here next week too. I hope everybody.
Awesome. Yay.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we should sign off.
I guess that's what to do.
Yes, that's
yeah.
it. But yeah, thank you today. Thank you, Felicia, Nellie. And then we'll do it again next Thursday at 5 o'clock.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
See you next week.
Bye. Awesome. Bye. Big love to you all.